Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to another exciting episode of Psychology Talks. And today we talk about that how kindness can elevate leadership. I think in today's world, we are actually so much pressed with some challenges and to actually pressed with the idea that we have to perform all the time. And especially the pressure is much more on the leaders that they actually they forget to be kind. And when someone is kind, they're usually taken as a weak or they think that they are not strong enough to show the leadership qualities. But I think it is very important that, especially in a leadership position, we need to practice kindness so we can encourage open communication and build trust among the team. And today we are honored to have Kevin Monroe, and he is an international speaker, consultant, and the founder of Higher Purpose Podcast. And he's also the founder of I'm Grateful for You. And his main area of expertise is like he talks about more on the gratitude. So it would be an interesting conversation with that how gratitude can inculcate or instill kindness among all. So let's welcome Kevin. Hello, Kevin. Thank you for joining us. It's an honor to have you with us.
Embreen, thank you. It is such an honor to join you and all of you that are joining us for this episode of Psychology Talks.
Yeah, thanks to all those that were joining. Like Jackie has already saying hello, greetings from Ireland. Thank you for joining. So please, whoever is joining, please share that who are they, that where are they joining from, and if you have any question, please feel free to ask, and we will actually answer your questions during our conversation. So let's begin our conversation. So I just actually gave a very brief. Introduction about you, that you're the founder of I'm Grateful movement, and like you talk a lot about gratitude. But just tell us a bit more about yourself, that from how you started your journey, what is obstacles you actually faced, and how you ended up here.
Well, I will try to do the condensed version of that journey, Ambreen,
Yes.
right? So we have time for other things because it's been an amazing journey. Well, let me start out by saying I never set out to do gratitude work. I never set out to be a gratitude coach. I never set out to be considered a gratitude expert. That was all just kind of a uh, side benefit of the journey. And let me also be clear and quick to say, since we're talking about psychology talks, this journey that led me to gratitude started in a very dark place. In April of 2018, I was April 17th to be exact. I remember the day because I've got it in a journal. I was on the precipice of despair. I
Oh,
could not get out of bed that morning. I mean, this morning I woke up the first time 4:15, right, ready to go. I dozed back off a few minutes, got up a little right around 5, but usually I'm up between 4:30 and 5 a.m. without an alarm clock. That
no.
day, I finally drug myself out of bed about 8 o'clock in the morning. Right? There's no excitement about life. There's just dread. There's despair. There's discouragement. And I cried out for help in my morning routine because I have these daily disciplines. And I just cried out for help. And I cried out, Spirit, spark creativity in me. And 45 minutes later, I had this idea to launch what we call it, ended up being a 90-day journey that we called the Extraordinary Experiment. And in week 6 of that, Ambreen, so each week had a challenge. It was called a challenge. Like the first week was the awareness challenge, simply inviting people to be aware of who and what is going on around you rather than self-absorbed, stuck to a screen, right? Totally clueless that there are people around you that may be in need or that you could be kind to. Week 6 was the gratitude challenge. And that week, as we prepared to drop a video on Mondays, it was the first time that I'd ever seriously considered are being thankful and being grateful the same thing, because we called it the grateful challenge, not the thankful challenge, right? And when I started thinking about that, Ambreen, I realized that I had assumed the two were the same.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
that day, I realized they were different. They're cousins, they're connected, but they aren't the same. So that led me into this journey of exploring gratitude and leaning into gratitude every single day at a much deeper level than I ever had. So I'll fast forward. A year later, June of 2019, in my morning time, I hear these words, "Host a gratitude challenge." I'd never
Oh.
thought of doing anything to share. I was just asking people. We started every meeting with gratitude from the time I got into gratitude. I'd always work it in to sessions, but I never did anything exclusively on gratitude. So we launched this gratitude challenge. We decided to do a 10-day experiment, and Ambreen, that blew up. I thought I would do 1, maybe 2 of those.
Yeah.
I ended up hosting 22 sessions
Wow.
over 19 months. We
Mhm.
had 2,800 people join from 73 countries of the world.
Wow. Wow.
And I
That's
mean,
amazing. Yeah.
and in that time, people began to think of me as the gratitude guy. And it was like, "Oh, I've become the gratitude guy," right?
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. What exactly was the gratitude challenge?
So then the first one we did, we had 10 days and okay, so let me back up. If you would have asked me in 2018, or if you'd asked me in 2005, are you a grateful person? Well, of course I am.
Yeah.
Because culturally, I grew up in the southeast part of the United States, and I was taught by my parents to say things like please and thank you and you're welcome, right? And so anytime anybody gave me anything, or I'm in an exchange with a person at a store or at the airline counter, right, I would say thank you. Now, I may not really mean it. I may not, right? It was just this, it was habituated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And and so I would have said I'm grateful, but I wasn't. The other thing I had done for years, at the encouragement of a mentor, I started my day before what Kim Boa said to me years ago, before your feet hit the floor when you get out of bed in the morning, think of 3 things you're thankful for. And brain, for a number of years, as soon as I'd wake up, I'm saying, thankful for my wife, our kids are home. Done.
Yeah.
Check the box, right? I've been grateful today. Go on
Yeah.
about my business. So
Yeah.
when we launched this gratitude challenge, we wanted to do it dramatically different than that. We didn't
Mhm.
want to just ask people to say, what are 3 things you're thankful for or 3 things you're grateful for? Check the box and go on.
Mhm.
So I had an idea a week later. So we wanted to do something creative, different ways to invite people to think of gratitude. A week later, I had the idea of there should be an artist. There's an artist that would want to join us and um, create artwork that we could pair with our prompts. And I'm like, but I don't know any artist. The idea wouldn't go away. So I posted it on Twitter. 8 hours later, a friend of mine, Gary Turner in the United Kingdom, retweeted the post. An hour later, 3 artists respond, and then one of those actually could do it and wanted to do it. So her name is Kat Hayes. She ended up creating these sketches. And so we
Wow.
would do things like this. These were some of the 10 prompts we used right at the beginning. Who
Wow.
is the superstar of your day? You know, look back over the last 24 hours. Who is someone that went above and beyond to do something for you that stands out as the superstar of your day? Another one was to think of your day as a movie. What
Wow.
would be the highlight of your last 24 hours, right? If you're sitting at the movie and you think, here's this one scene, this was the most amazing scene of the movie. Well, think of your life that way. Another one we did was think of the letters of the alphabet and pick one letter or work through the alphabet. How many things can you come up to be grateful for that start with the letter G, for example?
Wow.
And so we were emailing these prompts every day to people. And then we just asked people to respond by email. Well, then we had problems getting emails delivered. And so we were trying to solve a technology problem, and we landed on a community solution to use a platform. And Ambreen, the moment we took gratitude into a community setting, we learned so many things. All of a sudden, gratitude is better together, is what we learned.
Yes.
And that if
Wow.
you ask a bunch of people, so there was one more that when we went into communities, we would almost always start with this, because when we went into community setting, what we realized is people could post pictures.
Mhm.
They
Yes.
wouldn't just write words, they would post pictures. So then we started, and this was one of my favorite prompts, the beauty of nature.
Wow.
And we'd
Yeah.
ask people, think about where have you enjoyed nature's beauty in the last week, recently? And people would start posting pictures. Like I said, we had people from 73 countries of the world. Somebody's posting the cliffs of Wales, right? And you're there. Somebody's posting from Australia and out in the outback, and you're seeing animals that you wouldn't normally see. Someone else, I still remember this one. Someone posted, they were on vacation on the coast of Oregon, western part of the United States, and they had their pet llama with them.
Wow.
Okay, so Ambry,
Wow.
first off, I didn't know people had pet llamas.
Yes.
And
That's
I
really
didn't know if you
amazing.
had a pet llama, you took it on vacation with you,
Yeah.
camping at the beach. But
Yeah.
when people would see how somebody else is responding to a prompt, now all of a sudden it's causing them to think deeper and to think differently. And instead of being 1 + 1 + 1 = 3, there was this exponential growth of gratitude.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and it was amazing. So that
Yeah.
was what we started doing 5 years ago, and then we've just gone one innovation after another through the years to keep expanding the work.
Wow. Wow, that's simply amazing. I mean, the way you actually took gratitude from just chanting some words that I'm grateful for, like these three things, and that's it, to actually make it really incorporate in our daily lives. That's what it is. So I would actually want to ask you that, first of all, I would like to say thank you to the Valerie and Jackie for their amazing comments, and thank you for joining Valerie. She is one of the friends through whom, like, we got connected. Valerie and Dr. Gina. We were just talking before this conversation that they are the two amazing people through whom, like, I got the chance to connect with Kevin. So thank you for all you do. And of course, yeah, and Valerie is saying that, yeah, these are incredible stories. So yeah, the question that I wanted to ask is basically, that, as you said, that gratitude changes the entire, I would say, the physiology or chemistry of our human mind and our, like, our physiology. So what exactly does it do
Mm.
to enhance the well-being? Why do we feel good when we are into the state of gratitude?
Well, okay, uh, a couple of things. I mean, there's several things, and I will say this, Ambreen. I'll back up and I'll say, when I started when I started doing work in this space, I ended up with a one sentence description, kind of value proposition of the work I do, that gratitude experienced is better than gratitude explained.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gratitude experienced is better than gratitude explained. And when I say that, I'm not the best person in the world. I'm not a neuroscientist. I am not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not the best person to explain all the ins and outs of how gratitude affects your brain and your body. But we do know there are chemicals that are produced and released that flow through our brains into our bodies when we express gratitude. And those are the feel good hormones, right? Oxytocins, endorphins. Those are things that are released. Here's what we started noticing: you don't have to understand any of that
Yes.
to to feel those rush through your body, to feel the shift that happens in your brain. So when I think about it, what does gratitude really do? Not just talking about from a neurobiological perspective. But what gratitude does, it allows you and me to shift how we perceive things,
Yes.
right? I've come to understand there are the events of life that are going on in all of our lives, and then there are the stories that we construct and we tell ourselves about those events.
Yes.
Right,
That's
Ambreen?
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
mean, okay, so two or three people can stand at different angles at the intersection of a highway and witness an accident happen.
Yes.
And all three of them, if they are at a different perspective, different angle, will tell the story differently because they see it differently. Well, that's what gratitude does to us. All of a sudden, rather than seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances, you can see yourself as an agent of change. You can see yourself, well, okay, that's one thing that could be true. So a friend of mine posted this story just a few minutes ago.
Oh,
Let me
okay.
see if I can find it real quick. Stephanie,
Mm,
yeah, Stephanie posted this story. I once attended a birthday party where the celebrant was upset because several people she had invited didn't show up. As she expressed her disappointment, I found myself thinking, what are we, chopped liver? Right? It was a funny moment, but it prompted a powerful realization for me, the essence of gratitude. In that moment, I saw how easy it is to focus on what's missing rather than appreciating what's present. And we have that opportunity every single day. Everything that comes into our life, we can either think, oh my gosh, what's wrong with this? And look at how horrible this is. Or we can stop and go, wow, that's bad. But in spite of that, look at this wonderful thing that's still happening. Look at this beautiful thing. Even on a rainy day, Ambreen, even
yes,
in the midst of a storm, the sun is still shining on the other side of the clouds. We
yeah,
just can't see the clouds in this moment. I mean, we can't see the sun for the clouds in this moment, but it doesn't mean that the sun stopped shining.
absolutely, absolutely.
So
That's wonderful. Yeah.
gratitude is how we shift our focus.
Hmm.
I'll
Yeah.
share one more thing if I'm if
Sure, sure, sure,
and-
sure.
oh,
Yeah,
are
go
you
ahead.
okay?
Yeah, yeah,
Let me
yeah. Sure, please go ahead.
let me share this just a moment. Let me pick a window here. I'm going to share this. I
Okay.
didn't know if I'd use this or not, but I wanted it up.
Yeah.
This was the journey that I discovered in 2018.
Hmm.
2018. What really prompted me to discover gratitude was my desire to escape a life of scarcity and a
Okay.
mindset of scarcity. And I found these two loops. They were published on the internet. I didn't know where they came from. But the scarcity loop is one I knew from childhood.
Hmm. Yeah.
There was just it's so easy to look at what's missing, what's not there. And scarcity, the loop, it starts with fear. At the 12 noon, the top button, top circle there. Fear.
You
Fear
want
produces
to
anxiety.
show this to the screen, add to the screen because you just put it here.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
um, I thought I was.
No. Okay. Yeah.
There we
Now
go.
I it's okay. Yeah,
Okay,
because
I
I
was
thought that
doing
was
it. Yeah, so
it. Yeah.
this,
Now it is there. Yeah.
the scarcity loop, the one on the left.
Yeah.
Fear is at the top position. When you are in fear, it produces anxiety. Anxiety leads you and me to make poor choices. Poor choices produce negative outcomes. And when we are in that loop, it's not just a circle around, it is a sucking vortex down. It's like going down the drain. Each time you go another lap around that, you're getting closer and closer to the bottom. There is a negative energy that is sucking the life out of you and me. I know that. I
Yeah.
experienced that a lot in life. So, what's the opposite? If you're in the scarcity loop, well, there's the abundance loop. And how do you
Okay.
enter the abundance loop? And this comes from the work of Juliana Park in her amazing book, The Abundance Loop. The abundance loop, the way Juliana described it, it starts with gratitude. Gratitude produces peace of mind. Peace of mind allows you and me to make wise choices. And when we make wise choices, we have better or positive outcomes in life. And this is like a virtuous cycle, an ascent going up, getting closer to the top of the mountain. So that's the other thing that happens, right? When we catch ourselves in the scarcity loop and we find ourselves thinking the worst about a situation, the worst about a person, if you want to shift how you're experiencing that, use gratitude. Find something to be grateful for. Find some good in that, or think about the good in this person.
Yeah.
And that helps us make that shift. So you can stop the
Okay.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for letting me do it.
Yeah.
But that's how it works, right? In a very practical way. Are we focusing on what we're lacking? Or are
Yeah.
we finding something good to focus on? And when we focus on the good and when we express gratitude, we
Yeah.
find more good things in life to enjoy and appreciate.
Yes, I love that answer that you actually shared. That it's basically it's all about the mindset change, the shift in our, the way we look at things. And I think that's the especially I love the kind of the loop you shared. And it is so true that, when we start looking at, or when we are in the mindset of like complain or negativity, it actually keeps draining us and it keeps pushing us towards the negativity in our lives also. And it's exactly, it's I usually call it like, when it actually leads to depression. And I usually say that depression is kind of a bottomless pit, right? You keep going down and down and down, there is no way out. And it's just like you just said, that it's the scarcity loop is defines it so well, that each lap we just drains our energy and keeps on, draining and draining and draining. And I think the thing is, when we are in the negative mindset or negative uh, thinking, we keeps attracting negative event, negative people in our lives. So like, we just start saying that, okay, this is not happening, this is not happening. And actually we are attracting those events which make it not happen. We start attracting people who are negative, and which actually, I would say, that confirms are like those biases that we just said, okay, this is bad, and they said, okay, yes, this is. They make it more worse. So I think misery loves the company. So it happens the same way, I think. And thanks to all those, like Jackie is also saying, the peace of mind is definitely a right choice. And I think thank you, Lydia, for joining. She's saying that amazing insights. Kevin, love what you shared. And sorry, my screen is, gratitude of overflowing abundance arrays in one soul of the fountain of life. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Yeah. Yeah. And one more thing that I really love what you actually mentioned in the beginning, that when you created when you actually started sharing the challenge, you created a community. I think that's one major thing, that like as humans, we have the most basic need of belongingness, right? And when we come together, that's how we feel, you know the power of being with each other, and that amplifies the impact. And as you said that, started sharing, people started sharing like the pet llama, which was, of course, I could not think of, but yes, it was there. So I just love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want you to actually more talk about this, especially like the belongingness part, because when we create the community, when we start um, talking about it, when we start practicing gratitude in community, we amplify the impact. So I would like to talk more about it.
Okay, so Embring, yeah. Let me say a couple of things. One,
Sure.
psychology talks, okay?
Yes.
William James, who is known as the father of American psychology, over 100 years ago, wrote,
Yeah.
the deepest principle of human nature is the craving to be appreciated.
Yeah.
right? And I love that the way he phrased the craving to be appreciated. It's not just a desire, it's not just an interest. As human beings, we have a craving to be appreciated. And everyone in every part of the world has this longing to feel seen, heard, valued, and appreciated. And this
Yeah.
happens in workplaces of the world, it happens in communities, but where people live, that kind of community of the world. It happens in wherever people are gathering. There's this longing
Yeah.
to feel seen, heard, valued, and appreciated. Now, we all have that desire to be in places where we belong and connect. So, one of the other things I discovered doing this work is that when we brought people into community, so we were doing this kind of community, an online community where people are virtually interacting with prompts. Uh, and then I had the opportunity. Okay, so COVID 2020
Yes,
changed the way we met. And in
absolutely.
2020, I had been invited to host a session for a group of leaders, a leadership cohort. And
Mhm.
they asked me, would I do a webinar on gratitude? And I'm like, well, first off, I'll give you the whole context of the story. They asked me, would I do a webinar? And I said, well, what would you want me to do it on? And they're like, duh, gratitude. Well, in
Yeah.
that moment that I realized I had become the gratitude guy, that was in
Mhm.
January of 2020. Well, then COVID hit and we didn't get to do this session the way we wanted. Oh, but when they asked me would I do a webinar, I said, no, I won't do a webinar. I don't want to be a talking head. Well, and they said, well, what will you do? And I said, let me think about it. So about 2 weeks later, I had this idea. What if we created an event where we invited people in to a Zoom room to explore, express, and experience gratitude? And we call that a gratitude encounter, is what I wanted to call it. So I said, I'll host a gratitude encounter. I won't do a webinar. An encounter means everybody in the room is a participant. They're not listening to one person talk about it, but we're all sharing. So we create some prompts around a theme. We bring people together. I say some things that get people getting people uh, connected to the concepts of gratitude and the theme we're talking about that month. And then we go into small group conversations and
Mhm.
e- share what this means to me. So the most recent one of this I did was last week, and we were talking about uncertainty. So we were talking about what are the practices? How do you rely on gratitude to keep you grounded in times of uncertainty?
Yeah.
So, in that context, Ambrain, when I hosted the very first one of these, we noticed something. And
Mhm.
at the end, somebody wrote, we arrived as strangers, we left as friends. And
Yeah.
I've seen that repeated month in, month out over 4 years now. We're in our fifth year of hosting these events. And that led me to answer the question you just gratitude connects people quickly and deeply.
Yeah.
And when we come together in a community, not just a community, a virtual community where you're typing to each other, right? And you're posting and interacting with posts, but where you're actually in conversations with people. When you make gratitude the foundation of that and invite people to reflect on their gratitude and appreciation for something in life, and they start sharing that with strangers, there is this connection of the heart that
Yeah.
happens. And then when we invite people, and we always do this, to express gratitude to somebody else that's usually not in the group with us, then something else is happening, right? And
Yeah.
so those are connections are happening. Now, what we wanted to talk about, right? Kindness at work was one of the things. So
Yeah.
I want to make sure we include that. So, what happens in the workplace when leaders bring this kind of ethos, this kind of activity into the workplace? And I see it happen all of the time now that when team meetings start, Many of them start by saying, hey, let's celebrate the best thing that's happened since we were last together as a team. Now, whether you realize that or not, that's a gratitude question,
Yeah.
right? Can we celebrate the best thing that has happened? I was with a leader um, just yesterday or the day before, in the past 2 days. I was with a leader, and he was telling me when 2 days ago, it was at dinner, when he starts their big team meeting, their strategic planning meeting for the year, the first hour of their meeting is people expressing gratitude for the ways other people on the team have supported them that nobody else even knew about.
Mm.
Right? I remember when you did this. I
Mm.
remember when I was stuck on a project, you helped me with this. And he said, we do this for an hour.
Yeah.
Then we
Wow.
talk about what we're going to accomplish this next year. So, what
Mhm.
have they done? They've created so deep connections
Yeah.
between people, right? And this appreciation, this belief that anything is possible now, because they're in a much an elevated space of creativity, an elevated space of believing what's available to them, and they're not just stuck on, hey, what's the problem that's got you down, right? What's the
Yeah.
one thing that
Yeah.
happened, right?
Yeah.
And that's how most team meetings around the world start.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like,
That's amazing. I mean, I really love the way you just described it, how gratitude actually brings people together and, connect them. There's one question here. Birhano is asking that how do you think the power of blessing and curse in our generation? So I actually don't understand. Maybe if you understand, maybe go ahead. But I think, what do you mean by the curse in the generation? If you can,
yeah, I'm not sure if I understand that either.
yeah, me too. So
Um,
I think,
I do.
Birhano, if you're listening, yeah, please let us know that what do you mean by the curse and the blessing in our generation? Maybe if you can just clarify. Yeah,
Well, and I would just say, okay, let's take that broader and
yeah,
say not just blessing or curse, but is your is what you're expecting and how you're addressing other people rooted in the power of possibility and anything good can happen, or is it rooted in, right, that we're doomed? And and so let me back up and let's go another way, because I thought about this earlier this morning.
mhm,
um, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who wrote the book on death and dying, classic psychiatrist, I believe, or psychiatrist. I don't remember how she was trained. She was one of those two. On death
mhm,
and dying, she said there are only two primary emotions in the world, two
mhm,
primary emotions, fear and love.
yeah,
Right? Those are the two primary emotions. And when we talk about this, so let's talk about this. The power of blessing is the power of love. The power of curse is the power of fear.
yeah,
And so when and in the workplaces around the world, you either have, as simple as this may sound, you break it
mhm,
down, it's true. Your workplace is either rooted in fear or it's
yeah,
rooted in love. And if
yeah,
it's rooted in fear, there are people using control, using fear to get people to motivate people, right, out of a negative, rather than uh, using love to motivate. What can we do? What do we want to do for one another versus, if you don't do this, you're doomed, right? So
yeah. Yeah, I think that's very true. That basically we are either, rooted in like with love or the fear, and these two basic emotions or need actually drive us, and like all our actions are either driven either because of this love or because of the fear. So yes, very true. And I think I love this comment by Lydia. The gratitude is a seed that grows within our soul and heart, bonding the unwavering connectivity. So I completely agree. I think
thank
that
you, Lydia.
is that connection. Thank you. I
And I'm
think
so glad
Brianna,
you're here with us, Lydia. Lydia's a friend. She may be a friend of yours as well, and Brain, but I
yes,
know
yes,
Lydia.
of course. I know Lydia too. She's, I mean, I haven't interacted in Zoom or something, but we have like, we comment on each other. I think, yeah, Birhano is saying maybe he wants to, does it work up
Yeah.
on people for doing good or bad? So,
I mean, that's the same thing. Love or fear.
yeah,
Do you want to lift people up? Do you want to put people down? Right? What is it that you want to do? And kind
yeah,
leaders are looking for opportunities to elevate. I do want to make sure you when you publish this, you published how kind how kindness
kindness
elevates
elevates. Yeah,
leadership.
yeah, yeah,
Right? I thought about that a lot, Ambreen. And I thought, the fundamental way that kindness elevates leadership is kindness reconnects leadership to the humanity of people.
yeah,
And by reconnecting to our humanity, we're elevating people. And
yeah,
if leaders disconnect from humanity, disconnect from their humanity, they are oppressing people. They are putting people down. And if we look at the workplaces of the world today, disconnection is one of the greatest
yeah,
barriers that workplaces around the world are feeling. The latest study from the World Health Organization, um, and it was also reported in Gallup in the worldwide um, state of the global workplace.
yeah,
20% of workers around the world feel lonely on a
yeah,
daily basis.
yeah.
So they
That's
feel
true.
disconnected
Yeah,
from
yeah.
from the people they work with. They feel disconnected from their leaders. And one of the reasons may be their leaders aren't kind or caring for them.
Yeah, that's true. They're so detached with their teams that that's why they're not able to be kind to themselves. So yeah, I know that we can go on, and I love our discussion, but I'm afraid that we are actually at the end of the show. So, what one last advice would you like to give to our audience to have to inculcate or to practice gratitude in a on a daily basis and to feel good?
Okay, well, I'm going to stretch this and I'm going to ask if I can give two because of a comment I
Yeah,
just saw. Okay, the
yeah.
comment I
Sure.
just saw. One, show kindness to yourself, right? First, start with looking in the mirror and speaking kind words to yourself and expressing gratitude to yourself for something about you.
Yeah,
What if you just so we did this we started this a couple of years ago. What if you just took out a card and you wrote I'm grateful for you, and you write an I'm grateful for you card to yourself? What is
yeah,
it that if you could step outside of yourself and look at yourself and write a note to yourself, I'm grateful for you that you are this or that you do this, what would you say? So that's a fun little exercise to do.
yeah,
Um, Another one to extend that to others then. One of my favorite quotes, and if you're ever in a room where I'm speaking, you'll hear me say, Randy Powell, showing gratitude. Showing gratitude is one of the simplest yet most powerful things humans can do for others, for each other,
yes,
right? So, what if you, when you finish watching this show, what if you stop and you think of someone who has enriched your life in some way and send them a text message right now and say, I appreciate you because I'm grateful for you. Here's why. I appreciate you for doing this. I appreciate you for being this for me. So, what if, right? If you want to do something, and if you make that a daily practice and it becomes a daily habit, especially if you are a leader and you express gratitude to one, two, three, five people every single day on your team, you will change the culture of your organization.
Yeah, absolutely love these advice, especially like I like the way you said that, writing that I appreciate you. And then we decide because, we usually say, okay, I actually what I mostly like there are lots of like buzz going on in the social media for all these affirmation that they need to say that I'm strong, I'm enough, and these are the things. I know like these are good, but the thing is sometimes it becomes kind of a just like a puppet something, or like you're just saying it for the sake of saying, and well, people actually don't believe it in the heart. And but I really like the way actually change it, and you just make it more practical, to just think of something that you really are grateful for. It's not just saying that you are amazing, because sometimes some people who are going through maybe depression or going through or difficult times in their life, it is even hard for them to think of this, that they are amazing or something. Even if they're forced to, they will just say something which they deep down don't feel that. But when you actually flip this and think of your or force yourself to think of something that you feel appreciated for yourself, then I think that even when you say that you are amazing, that will come from your heart, not just by your mouth only. So I just love that advice. Thank you so much for joining today. I really love our discussion, and I was actually looking forward to it. I was waiting for this because I've seen your podcast already on the Valerie show and also on Dr. Gina's podcast. So I really love that. I know I've shared the website and your LinkedIn. So what is the best way people can connect with you?
Yeah, if you're on LinkedIn, connect with
Yeah,
me there. LinkedIn is the one social media I use every single day, and
that's amazing.
I guess I was the original Kevin Monroe on LinkedIn, so it's just LinkedIn, Kevin Monroe. You'll find me there. Let me know that you saw this show, that this is why we're connecting. Um, and then I'll invite you. Okay, two things. I'll invite you to
Okay.
join. We have a global community of gratitude ambassadors,
Mhm.
people that believe gratitude is good and we want to see more of it in the world. So join our group of gratitude ambassadors. And I'll also invite you to our next gratitude encounter. They happen on the first Tuesday of every month. You can join in and be part of one of these communities where we're actually expressing and experiencing gratitude together.
Wow, that's amazing. I would really like to be part of that because I think
Please.
it's very important to actually share with others that how we can spread kindness and gratitude. I think that's the only way we can bring about the change in the world. Just one by one, a little step by one step at a moment, I think. So that's wonderful. That would be wonderful. So, anyways, thank you for joining, and thanks to all those who joined us today. Even like if you're watching us as a live or you're watching us as a replay, thanks for joining. Thanks for your comments. And if we missed, I will actually reply to all those comments once this show is finished. And thank you so much, and have a good day.
Thank you.